Hello everyone, this is Dr. Moore of EfficientMinds.com. Today's presentation is on personal finance overview, what to do with your income and savings. How do you get to this presentation? You begin on my website, EfficientMinds.com, and over here in seminars, the very first one is personal finance overview. You click on that. The presentation comes up. You can make this larger. I recommend you do that for easier viewing. Click on the little X to remove the banner at the bottom, and away we go. To navigate this presentation, you can use the hyperlinks at the top, except when you get near the rightmost extreme, you'll see the right arrow takes over, and then when you get to the leftmost extreme, the left arrow takes over. And there's some navigation controls at the bottom. You can jump to a particular page. You can zoom in or zoom out. Okay, moving on. So this is a pretty comprehensive presentation. I begin with my philosophy on investing, look at the difference between investing and saving, and once you're at peace with investing, well, what do you invest in? And then once you're familiar with the investment options, where and how do you get this going? And then we'll sum it up here. The advanced information, I'll just briefly touch on it. These are more subjects that are better covered in the classroom or in-person seminar, and not on the brief presentation. So moving on, inspiration and budgeting. So. First quote there comes from the Bible. I'm not saying you have to be a Christian to make money or not make money, but I like the notion of gathering little by little. And in this presentation and in the advice I give, I won't be telling you how to double your money next week or how to get rich quick. But I will, in the line with this Wealthy Barber book, show you how to position your income and savings for growth, for sustainable growth. All right, don't try to time the market. It's a wicked idea. I just put together a whole bunch of presentations from a conference I recently attended in New York. Let's see. If you go over here, seminars, Game 4 conference notes. And if you look in this presentation or watch any of these videos, you'll see that this notion of don't try to time the market is supported by a lot of people, supported by evidence, wealthy people in Goldman Sachs and Federal Reserve and Ernst & Young. You know, this. Don't try to time the market. These next two bullet points are a bit of a disclaimer. I don't claim to know it all. I have a current understanding, and could be updated will be updated as I receive new information, just like these presentations are updated when I receive new information. So what you're looking at is my current understanding. And so I'll keep my mind open and eyes open for new information. I hope you do the same. Right, no one has a monopoly on truth. Listen up, it's your money, it's your hard-earned money. So before you do anything with it, you got to be comfortable with your decision. So don't listen to just David Moore. Listen to or do some reading and talk to other folks. Another thing, mutual funds often have a disclaimer. Past results are no guarantee for future results. Well, that's simply because nobody knows the future. But I like this quote from a colleague of mine. I can't tell you about the future. I can tell you about the history. And finally, invest 10% of all you make for long-term growth. If you follow this one simple guideline, someday you'll be a very rich man or woman. Excellent quote. Now, as far as daily budgeting, if we're going to talk about saving 10%, you need to have 10% to save. I'm bad at budgeting. I've been bad in the past. I'm improving. But there is some liberation here. If you take care of these three financial priorities first, you don't have to fret at the end of the month where you just have enough for that last meal because you've paid yourself 10%. This will be for mid to long-term growth. This will be for that home you want to purchase, car, vacation, emergencies that come up, perhaps even some for retirement. Ensure you have enough term life insurance. Notice the advice is to cover you your dependents and anyone you're dependent on. Okay, and contribute a sufficient amount to your retirement. So even if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can afford to save 10%. Just cut back on your expenses. This presentation here focuses mainly on what to do with that pay yourself 10% first. Another presentation probably would need to be done to find out what is a sufficient amount to contribute to your retirement. All right, one more tip on budgeting. This is a quote I made up. Minimize high margin exposure. After being beat up at the mechanic with a BMW and then finally breaking down and buying a Toyota, life has been a whole lot easier. It's not as fancy of a ride, but sure I'm at peace with the lower maintenance, lower insurance, lower gas, less time back at dealer. So what does minimize high margin exposure mean? Here's several examples of where you choose lower margin exposure over higher. Like, for instance, Toyota Camry and Lexus ES, virtually the same car. Lexus may have a little more leather, a little more wood, but you could save yourself thousands and thousands of dollars. These pens, watches, or you can just quit alcohol and tobacco altogether. Okay, moving on. You get the point. All right, investing versus saving. What is the difference? When you invest, you're an owner, you're a partial owner. When you save, you're loaning money to wherever you saved your money in, right? Even if you save money in the bank, that bank will in turn loan the money to businesses, hopefully local businesses. So that's one distinction. You're a part owner versus a loaner. Another big difference is in what you earn. Savings accounts right now are paying less than 1%. Last year, the S&P returned 32% on average, and this is the link. You can go look it up if you don't believe my average number. Over the last 25 years, S&P has averaged 10%. So you can earn far more being an owner than a lender. Now, let's not forget about risk, though. Your accounts at your bank are FDIC insured, meaning if something happened, the government guarantees your whatever dollars you have in there will be there, up to, I think it's $250,000. If you're an owner, you can lose money. You can lose all your money in stocks. But if you put all your eggs in one basket, shame on you. If you put all your money in an index fund such as S&P 500, I think even in its worst years, it was down 30 or 40%. So you still won't lose it all. But more importantly, this average over the last 25 years, and actually, if you go back further, it's still the differential between returns from owning and returns from loaning is high. So there's that. Which is better? There's the books, the one I referenced in this presentation, and some articles suggest it's better to own than to lend. I say do both. There's no monopoly on the truth here. One way to gauge how much of each is to start with this simple rule of thumb: 100 minus your age is how much you should have in stocks. So a 30-year-old should have 70% in stocks, the other 30% in fixed income such as CDs. As you get older, for example, a 70-year-old should have much less in stocks, 30%, because they don't have as much time to recoup any losses. When you're 30 and you have 70% of your money in stocks, if you lose some money in the next 2-3 years, you'll have a lifetime of earnings to recoup that and then some. But that's just a rule of thumb. You adjust for your own risk tolerance. So some parting thoughts. You can think of a three-legged stool to sit on when you retire. You'll sit on your retirement investments, your pensions, and Social Security. I don't know how reliable Social Security is these days. You also have to consider long-term care and medical expenses. So it's good practice to get into saving, owning, and loaning today. So that'll be it for part one. I'll come back with part two shortly.